You know, entrepreneurship is about doing. It is about learning the realities of operations and selling and accounting, and raising money, and all the other elements that go into a viable venture. But at its essence, at its core, as we talked about this afternoon, it's a mindset, a way of thinking and acting. It's a mindset that's predicated on values. You know, we academics like to pretend that we're objective and value-free and all that. Entrepreneurship is, at its essence, about values. That's one of the reasons why you, as military veterans, are going to make it. You know, the numbers tell us two interesting statistics. One, veterans start more businesses per capita than non-veterans. And veterans succeed at those businesses at a higher rate than society at large. I think that has a lot to do with values. You can't be in the military and not understand values. Well, I've learned more about values, the reality of what some of these values are, not just cheap words, from our next speaker. Nate Waters is, you know, when you do what I do, which is the best job in the world, I mean, your job is to get people to have dreams, and encourage those dreams, and pursue those dreams. So you meet a lot of fascinating people, you meet a lot of inspiring people. This next guy inspires me every day. He is the essence of values. He's the essence of the things that we talk about in terms of tenacity and perseverance and believing. And in fact, believing when all hope is gone. Nate Waters grew up in Chicago. Grew up in a home where he never knew his father. His father died when he was very young. Grew up in an environment of drugs and crime. It's a story that you just will not believe. And Nate is the kind of guy who will share that story. It's not an easy story to share. And I've asked him to share a bit of it with you tonight because it goes to the essence of what it takes. So please join me in welcoming one of my heroes, one of my sources of inspiration, Nate Waters.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to first thank the veterans for willing to sacrifice their life for our country. And I would like to everyone give a round of applause for the patriots here. You guys are the real patriots. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to join the military, but I'm proud to say that I have grandfathers on both sides of my family, uncles and cousins that's been in several branches of the military. And I'm very proud of that. At the age of 7 years old, I started my own business, and that was collecting cans and delivering newspapers. And you know, my mom didn't tell me to do that. I just knew that I wanted to improve my environment. We stayed in a one-room, 200-square-foot apartment with a bathroom and a kitchen. Me, my mom, and my sister in the slums of South Side Chicago. And that was pretty small living quarters. But I was always dreaming. I'm always dreaming of living a better life. So I started, I thought to myself, if I collect enough cans, shine enough shoes, and deliver enough newspapers, I can save up enough money to move us out of this slum apartment, move us to a better side of town. And so that was my motivation. So from the age of 7 years old to the age of 14, when I moved to Oklahoma, That's basically what I did. I didn't have any friends growing up. I was pretty much a loner because while everyone was playing with Nintendo video games and Sega Genesis and G.I. Joes, I was always focusing on making money. I was always focusing on trying to move out the projects, trying to move in a better neighborhood. However, I'm very happy that that was my interest because a lot of people in my age bracket during that time in the mid-'80s were joining some of the Chicago gangs and getting killed and going to prison and things like that. So I'm very happy that entrepreneurship pretty much saved my life during those real tough moments, during those tough years. However, my father died when I was 3 years old from esophageal cancer. So my mom had different boyfriends, and those boyfriends, they really didn't care too much about me and my sister, so we would receive beats and things like that. And also my mom, she was abused as a child, and her mom was abused as a child, so she was, would beat me and my sister also for just, dropping cereal on the ground and just making small mistakes. So she pretty much never knew how to really love and care for us. We thought love was conditional. That's pretty much how we were raised. However, in 1991, I moved here to Tulsa, Oklahoma because of the assistance of my aunt, who was like 90 days from my mom. And I'm very thankful that we moved to Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And as soon as I moved here, we drove from Chicago to Tulsa. And we arrived in green country, and I was so surprised by all the yards and trees and everything like that. Because growing up in Chicago, it was like a concrete jungle, just high-rise buildings, and a yard is pretty much, it's not in existence. So here we are in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm thinking I'm gonna be a millionaire because everyone had a front and backyard. So what I did, I went to Walmart and bought a lawnmower and started my lawnmower route at the age of 14 years old. I made about $1,000 during the summer of '91. And right after that, I bought a vending machine route. Because I know in Chicago, they have different different arcade rooms and places like that. And I noticed that whenever the owner of the video game came to collect his quarters, he had a pretty big bag of quarters, and also from the vending machines. So I said, you can make a lot of money having vending machines. So I bought several vending machines here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And at the age of 14 years old, I had my own vending machine route. Middle school was pretty difficult, because I didn't have any friends, and I really didn't have a lot in common with a lot of my classmates. So I ended up just pretty much just staying to myself and reading magazines, reading entrepreneur magazines and business opportunities and things like that. So, however, I'm very happy that I look back on it, even though it was lonely times, I'm very happy that I did that. Moving forward, when I was 16 years old, I had another paper route, and I was a music producer. I promoted music, independent artists, everything like that, and I would receive income that way. And I would go back and forth to Chicago to buy clothing, like go to the garment districts and buy t-shirts, like 20 t-shirts, for like $50 and sell them, in Tulsa, and make a real nice profit doing that. And so that's how I gained friends, because people saw me with the stylish clothing and things like that. So, hey, this guy's cool. So entrepreneurship, I mean, from when I was 7 years old, growing up in the slums, to being 16 years old, entrepreneurship was pretty much a driving force in my life. However, when I became 19, I got into an altercation, a fight with my mother's boyfriend. And he pretty much picked me up and broke my neck, just threw me upside down on the ground, and I landed on my head and broke my 4th, 5th, and 6th vertebrae. And that was a very challenging time in my life. However, I didn't give up. I went on to pursue my GED. After that, I went on to Tulsa Community College to earn my associate's degree, and then came here to OSU to earn my bachelor's degree in business administration. However, during those times, I had to learn how to forgive my mom and her boyfriend, who is now my stepfather because she married him a few years ago. I had to learn how to forgive them because, it's kind of like what the Bible says, people know not what they do. And so it was very difficult, it was very tough. And I had to live in a nursing home for like 3 different nursing homes over a 13-year period. And being 19, 20 years old, living in a nursing home with people that's 90 and 100 years old is not easy. But because of entrepreneurship, my entrepreneurship mind, I learned to adapt. And I was selling t-shirts and nursing uniforms to the... I was selling t-shirts and nursing uniforms to the employees and to the orderlies. And also, I was selling perfume at TC Tulsa Community College. So I was always thinking of better ways to utilize my time, while you're dealing with a tough situation. However, after I moved out the nursing home, I finally bought my own home 2 years ago. And I'm very thankful for that. It took a long, long time. However, I knew when the doctor told me that I was paralyzed for the rest of my life, that I will walk again, that I will gain more physical independence. So I started fundraising to go to Washington School of Medicine, Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis, the same place where Christopher Reed was doing his rehabilitation program. And so to make a long story short, I contacted over 100 companies that I would love to work for, because I thought that if they would sponsor me, that I could sign a contract and work for them to pay off the money that they sponsored me for. However, after 100 no's, I was in my nursing home room and went in my drawer to pick up a card that I acquired months before from a guy named T. Pickens. And because of my interest in oil and gas trading and commodity trading, and I heard him speak at an Energy Advocates meeting in March of 2003. So it was August, and everyone pretty much had turned me down about wanting to help me gain more physical rehabilitation. And the reason why I was so strong, the reason why my belief was so strong was because I heard that small voice inside of me telling me that I was going to get better, telling me that to not give up, to never lose focus. And so I contacted T. Pickens, and immediately he was interested in helping me pursue my dream of getting back on my feet and gaining more independence. So, but if I would have gave up, then I never would have been able to accomplish that goal. So now that equipment, about $60,000 to $80,000 worth, is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where other people with spinal cord injuries can utilize it and benefit from it. And also, I think that doing that, it gives an example to others that, hey, you can't lose, you can't give up on your dreams. You gotta be very persistent. If 20 people tell you no, if it's really in your heart, you will achieve it. Also, I was looking for a job in 2004. So I know I was gonna graduate from OSU in December of 2005. And so I passed out 50 resumes, and they all basically the same story, told me they weren't interested. And because they look at me in a wheelchair, no matter if I had a PhD, they still just pretty much just didn't give me a shot. But I did give up, and I saw a friend at a political function and spoke with him. And to make a long story short, I landed a job at the Williams Company, which is now known as WPX Energy. And I've been there going on 8 years. But the thing of it is that if you give up, then you never will receive, you never will accomplish your dreams and goals. You know, there are a lot of things that I can share tonight, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to share with you 3. In addition to having faith in God, which I have a strong belief in, for giving me the strength and giving me the joy. But in addition to that, it's all about stepping outside your comfort zone. You know, not being afraid. You know, leaving the front porch, leaving the front yard. You know, stepping out, trying to experience new things. You know, and not being afraid. You know, not letting the news media say, well, it's dangerous out there and you need to stay in the house and all this type of stuff. You know, getting out there, not having any fear at all. And 2, positive self-talk. You know, I mean, none of us are perfect. And just because you failed at something 2 weeks ago or even yesterday or even an hour ago, don't mean that you're going to fail at something tomorrow or next week. So don't beat yourself up over your past failures. I mean, look at Abraham Lincoln, he failed a lot of times. And he ended up being the president of the United States. And there's countless other individuals who have failed a lot of times and ended up accomplishing a whole lot and being very successful in their life. So it's all about positive self-talk. Some people say, well, when you talk to yourself, that's kind of crazy, but it works. Positive self-talk, it really works. And also, do not procrastinate. Procrastination is the enemy of success. You know, they'll say, well, I'll do that tomorrow, I'll do that next week, I'll do that in March or April. I mean, time is really not your friend. Time doesn't doesn't wait on anyone. No matter if you're young, 100 years old or what have you, time doesn't wait on anyone. So, do not procrastinate. I wish I could share more with you, but I would like to say, for all the veterans out here, that's here for this week, for next week, enjoy yourself, and definitely utilize the resources that you have in front of you, because a lot of work has went into this. And so this is our 4th year, and we're glad that you're here with us. Thank you for your time, and I'd like to just kind of ask one thing, to keep T. Boone Pickens' family and T. Boone Pickens in your prayers and thoughts. He had lost last week, so have a great night.
Thank you, Nate.